All right, so welcome back to another Q&A, and this time around we're going to be doing a Daredevil Q&A. As always, if you guys would like to have a be part of the next Q&A, just hit the link in the description box below, head on over to my Patreon, hit the first tier, that'll allow you access to do so. But other than that, let's get started with the first few questions, starting off with Mount Vernon Kid. Chris, how you doing, brother? Um, First question. Do you remember when Daredevil regained his eyesight? Yep, I remember that storyline very well. It was in Superior Iron Man, and Tony fixed his eyes, but this was a time when, like, it was after Axis, which that event sucked. So that storyline was pretty fun. I really liked it, how it ended. It was like this very bittersweet ending where Tony takes his eyesight away, and the last thing, like, Matt goes to like run to Foggy, and the first thing he sees is like he sees Foggy for the first time. So I always like that ending. Second question: who would be your creative team for a Daredevil Shadow crossover? Man, that's a good one. There are a few solid picks, I would say, for this kind of story. Like I genuinely think that I really do think that there are some really good ones out there. But the one that I kind of lean towards, I really am kind of leaning towards Charles Soule for the writer. Yeah, definitely Charles Soule for the writer. And I would say for art-wise, I would say Giuseppe Camuncoli. I think that creative team right there would be kind of perfect for a Daredevil Shadow crossover. Third question. Favorite alternate costumes of Matt's? Well, you can't go wrong with the original red and gold. Yellow and red. I love the yellow and red costume. The classic yellow and red. The black armor grows on me, even though it is fucking ridiculous. I would say, always remember to hydrate. Yeah, good old Arizona tea. Anyway, getting back. I would say the costume he wore in the later half of Chip Zdarsky's run, where it was like the hood and the tassels all flowing around. Really like that one. Yeah, those are a few. Really enjoyed those costumes. Yeah. Also, the red and black costume from well, I don't know. I don't know what it is. I just don't like Daredevil in black. Even though the black armor, it's fun, but like I just don't like Daredevil in like. It doesn't work for me when he's in a black costume. I don't know. Anyway, thank you for those questions, Chris. Moving on now to Gordon Rajani, who asks, what Daredevil character would you like to see make an appearance in Born Again who hasn't already? There's a few. If we're talking like supporting cast, I would say, well, Ben Urich is sadly gone. I think it would be cool to get like remember Melvin, aka Gladiator from the Netflix series. I think he showed up in season 1. Yeah, so it'd be cool to get the actual like him show up as the actual Gladiator. That would be really cool. I would really like to see. Be kind of fun to see Turk, even though yeah he was from Power Man. But yeah, Turk would be fun. Was Turk still around, or did he get killed in Power Man? I can't remember. In Luke Cage, I can't remember. But Turk would be fun. I think that would be a fun little cameo of Matt just beating the shit out of him. That'd be great. Those are a few that come to mind. I would like if we're gonna go by villains. There's a few like Mr. Fear. I think Mr. Fear would be really good. I think for others, I would say the Bullet. That's a lesser known one. The Jester would be a fun one. The Matador, kind of like fun. Let's have a little fun in here. Anyway, thank you for that question. Second question: if you could have Matt match wits with any fictional lawyer, who would it be? Who would your pick be? I can't really think of anyone other than Saul Goodman. So we'll just go. How about we just go with Saul Goodman? I think that's fair. Just go. Better call Saul. Third question. You probably already know this, but in the original TMNT comics, it's heavily implied that the ooze that mutated Splinter and the Turtles was the same stuff that caused Matt's blindness. So if he were hit with new ooze, what kind of mutated animal would you think Matt would turn into? You know, it's going to sound funny, but I would say a bat. Mostly, you know, like he has kind of like that echolocation. His radar sense is very similar to that of a bat's. So maybe just like Matt can turn into a giant bat. I think that would be a lot of fun. Anyway, thank you for those questions, Gordon. Moving on now to Hunter Johnson, who asks, how would a fight between Daredevil and Agent Smith go down? Horribly for Matt. Like, it's not... Like, I'm not even joking. This is one of the most one-sided fights I've ever heard of in my goddamn life. The fact that, like, there's... Matt's good. And Matt's fought... You could say, like, oh, but Matt beat, like, Blackheart in a fight. He's like the son of the devil. And he's fought Ultron. Yeah, but there were other circumstances to those fights. In a head-on fight with Agent Smith from the Matrix, he's going to get shit stomped. Like, it's not even like a... Like, yeah, this shit is ridiculous. Like, that shit is not even funny. It's not even, like, a fight between Matt and fucking Agent Smith. Agent Smith, like, can't feel pain. He can, like, turn other people into him. He's got pinpoint accuracy, and even Neo could barely beat him. What? Like, seriously. Yeah. Yeah, no. Matt's getting stomped. Second question. What would happen if we had a Daredevil game developed by either Supermassive or Telltale? I actually think it'd be kind of cool to have a Telltale Daredevil game, kind of in the vein of the Batman games they were doing. That would have been really cool, like a Daredevil game, like in that in the style of the Batman games. That'd be really cool. Supermassive, I think it'd be fine. I do think it'd be fine, but yeah, the Daredevil Telltale game would be. I think I would lean more towards that than anything else, if I'm being honest. I really do think that works a lot better for Matt. Anyway, third question. What would Daredevil think of Jenny from My Life as a Teenage Robot? I would probably say, you know, I think he would think she's a good hero. I think he would think that she was a solid, you know, hero all around. Just kind of, you know, kind of warn her to be like, hey, you know, think first before acting. Anyway, thank you for those questions, Hunter. Moving on into Alistair Bondman, who asks, while there is currently a Laura Kinney, Wolverine, and Elektra Daredevil team-up going on at the moment, how would you write a Laura and Matt team-up? Maybe set them in a weird plot? Alright. Yeah, a X-23... Yeah, a Laura Kinney Wolverine and Daredevil team-up. I think, like, how I would do it is probably have it that there's been a mutant in Hell's Kitchen, like a newly found mutant, and the government is trying to like crack down and capture them. And it turns out it's like been a whole ring of mutants that have been living in Hell's Kitchen, it's a little mutant community in Hell's Kitchen that has been hidden all this time. And now one of them had their powers activate. And now the government's cracking down on them. So now Matt and Laura have to like team up to save them. That's what I got right out the gate. Second question. Both Matt and Dick Grayson are considered man whores in the respective universes. Between the two, who's the bigger man whore? That's kind of the eternal question, isn't it? That who is the bigger man whore between Matt Murdock and Dick Grayson? You know, Dick has had a lot of girls, giggity. But I would say it's probably Matt. Matt doesn't know when to stop. Matt really does not know in any way, shape, or form to know when to quit. And also, like, his lust has gotten women into a mental asylum. No, really, that's been a thing. Anyway, so I'm going to say Matt. Anyway, thank you for those questions, Alistair. Moving on now to Dominic Fuentes, who asks, what would the Hand think of the Foot Clan? I think the Hand and the Foot would definitely see each other as like either temporary allies at best, enemy at worst. Like these two would not these two ninja clans really do not tolerate any kind of rivals, and both the Foot and the Hand would see each other as rivals. Like, it's not even a contest. Would they see the best I could say is like a temporary alliance to defeat both the Turtles and Daredevil, but really there's not really much else, because right after they are immediately going to war with each other. So yeah, that's how I kind of see it. How would you pitch a Daredevil comic? How would my pitch for a Daredevil comic? I'm trying to think of like how I would pitch a Daredevil comic right out the gate. I think what I'd like to do is have it be that. See, I love Daredevil, but I've never really thought of like a comic pitch for him, right? For anything, because like we've kind of done a lot of stuff with Matt, so maybe have it. I think what I would do, just kind of like off the cuff, right off the cuff, is like my pitch for a Daredevil, comic would be, maybe have it Matt leaves New York, like have Matt out of New York and, leaving Hell's Kitchen, like have it be like Matt thinks that the best thing for Daredevil right now, and since Elektra's there, like Elektra's now can guard Hell's Kitchen, there's always going to be a Daredevil, and Elektra is more than capable of taking care of Hell's Kitchen, but Matt Murdock can't be there anymore. So have it be like he goes to Japan and meets the remnant of the Chaste, and is basically like, hey, I knew Stick and all of that, and I trained under him, so maybe you guys can can retrain me or something like of that nature. So that's what I think what I would do is have it be like Matt, Daredevil, the Devil is now in Japan and now training closer to the Chase. You can have more storylines with the Hand, give more lore to the Chase and the Hand. I think that would be really cool. I think, like, yeah, having Matt in a new setting, and that way you can have, like, 2 Daredevil comics going simultaneously. Like, have your typical Daredevil book in Hell's Kitchen, but then also it kind of flips it, really, because you'd think Elektra would be in Japan and Matt would be in America, but no, we're going to flip it and have it that Matt is retraining himself and, like, kind of rebuilding himself, and also maybe finding a new law firm in Japan. Like, yeah. So that's kind of what I got right out for just off the top of my head. Third question: would Two-Face, Deacon Blackfire, the Joker, and Blockbuster from DC, along with Vega and Balrog from Street Fighter and Shredder from TMNT, make great villains? Yeah, all of them would really make great villains. Honestly, like, every single person you just mentioned would absolutely work as a Daredevil villain. Like, there's no wrong answer there. Yeah, absolutely. Like, none of them would be a bad one. Anyway, thank you for those questions, Dominique. Moving on now to Bill McLaughlin, who asks, what is your favorite Daredevil coldest moment? There are a few, but a recent, this one comes to mind. It's during the Chip Zdarsky Daredevil run, and during that time, Daredevil's, like, rebuilding, like, a new clan with Elektra, and he encounters the Mayor Fisk's Thunderbolts, which has John in it, U.S. Agent. And U.S. Agent is just like, you don't scare me, I'm right with God. And then Matt goes, if you were, John, he wouldn't have sent the devil. And I'm like, God, that's such a fucking... That just moment goes hard, like one of the hardest moments ever. And so yeah, that's one that definitely comes to mind as of recent. Second, what Daredevil villain do you feel gets underutilized? Well, a lot of them. If your names aren't Kingpin, Bullseye, and the Hand, you ain't getting a lot of spotlight, my friend. You are definitely in no way, shape, or form going to be getting a lot of love from Marvel or any Daredevil writer, so unless you are one of those 3. And even with the Hand, it's kind of like, Anyway. Yeah. So I would say, like, a vast majority of Daredevil's enemies. Third, what is your all-time favorite Daredevil storyline? I know it's it's really a basic bitch answer, but I would probably say the one that I always think about, and the one that I think a lot of people, is Daredevil Born Again. Daredevil Born Again is like one of the most quintessential comics out there, and it's one of the best storytelling, and probably I would argue Frank Miller's real best work. Dark Knight Returns be damned. But yeah, Daredevil Born Again is like one of those quintessential comics, not just in Daredevil, but in comics in history, and one I always try to, at one point or another, find myself going back to. So there's your answer, Daredevil Born Again. I know, basic bitch answer, but it's true. So thank you for those questions, Bill. Moving on now to Jason Voorhees 2011, who asks, after all these years, what are your thoughts on the Ben Affleck movie? It's not great, but it's not bad either. Like, I've never thought that movie was bad. I never once thought that was a bad movie in any way, shape, or form. It wasn't awful. It was by no means like an awful movie. But I will say the movie isn't. It's trying to do the entire Frank Miller run in like 90 minutes, a little over 90 minutes. But there are some good things. I think Ben Affleck was good as Matt. I think what's her name? She's decent as Elektra. Her movie sucked though. I think we can all agree that movie sucked. But Michael Clark Duncan is an awesome Kingpin. Like, we cannot deny that Michael Clark Duncan was just a absolute beast as Wilson Fisk. He was absolutely perfect as Kingpin. Yeah. And it makes me also like, on a side note, if there was ever a Daredevil movie in like the 80s or 90s, I'm going to say James Avery could have made a really good Kingpin. Uncle Phil from Fresh Prince. I'm not joking. That's not even a joke. Like, I could totally see James Avery being he was big, not just like big, but also like tall. He had this big imposing figure to him. So I always thought, like, man, it's kind of like how I've also said that, like, if there was a Spider-Man movie in the 90s, Jim Varney could have made a great Carnage. I have such weird hot takes, I know. Anyway, getting back on topic. The movies, I think, is all right. I think the director's cut is just a little bit, or the different cut of the movie makes it a lot better. Like, it's a lot more tolerable. Also, that soundtrack, man, that soundtrack is just an absolute certified banger. That's how we all heard Evanescence for the first time. Don't lie. That's how you heard Evanescence. That's the first time you found Evanescence, and also how you couldn't escape Wake Me Up Inside. And the rest of the songs are also they're generic butt rock, but butt fuck rock, but it's fun butt fuck rock. Like, I think it has the best. Like, I think the Daredevil movie soundtrack has probably the best movie soundtrack for superheroes. Yeah. Second question: if Daredevil were to get a video game, what would you like to see from it? Now, I'm going to answer this one because he's asking, like, if Daredevil got a video game, what would I like to see from it? And I would like to hopefully get, like, in these Sony Spider-Man game universe. Like, I know we're getting Wolverine soon. Daredevil, I think, has been the one everyone's been begging for. Like, Daredevil has been the one everyone and their mother has been, just begging for a Daredevil. They've been begging for a Daredevil game. So I would say, my pick, like, how I would do this game, what I'd like to see from it. Obviously, you'd need Kingpin and Bullseye, but I don't know, like, if I would save them and focus more on other villains. Like, I would love to have, like, Jester, Matador, the Bullet, Gladiator, but you would have Kingpin in there as well. I think also it would be kind of fun to play with, like, because here you can kind of do, like, the detective mode thing, but with the radar sense and all your senses, like, really play with the idea of all the senses as well. I think that would be really solid if you did, like, have like a game, like you could analyze something through smell or touch or something like that. Also have like a detective mode through the radar sense. Would it be kind of ripping off a bit of the Arkham games? Yeah, but you could also argue that the Spider-Man games did that too. Anyway, third question. Who do you think Matthew Lillard is playing in Season 2 of Born Again, and why is it Stiltman? I made that, when that got announced, I made, like, everyone in, because it was Chris, on social media, who said, who do you think he's playing? And everyone said, for some reason or another, Mr. Fear. And not to say he can't play Mr. Fear, but I was the only guy who said, so we have our Stiltman. So yeah, I was already saying, like, yeah, he should totally 100% absolutely play Stiltman. Like, no joke, he should be the guy playing Stiltman. I think it'd be a lot of fun, but I don't. Yeah, I think it should be Stiltman. But if he's Mr. Fear, that would also work. Because again, Matthew Lillard's kind of underappreciated in terms of acting. So yeah, but I kind of am hoping he's Stiltman. Anyway, thank you for those questions, Jason. Moving on now to David Deister, who asks, who would be the perfect love interest for Daredevil? He already has it. It's Electra Nachios. Like, yeah. Second question. What would a TMNT Daredevil Street Fighter crossover look like? I'd probably have it be that maybe Shadaloo is set up a tournament in New York City, and the Foot has gotten involved as well, and that's how you bring all the characters together. That's just like, I can't really think of a crossover off the top of my head, but that's just kind of the loose idea I have at the moment. Third question. If Born Again gets a second season, what story arc should they adapt next? Well, we do know, actually, that Born Again has been confirmed for a second season. Yeah, it actually has been confirmed for a season 2, so we do know that's coming soon. Or whenever it comes out. But I would say, because we do a lot of the Frank Miller stories. We've been doing a lot of, like, piecemeal of Born Again and whatnot. Maybe more of the Chip Zdarsky run, since we have done... actually, maybe... No, I take that back. Mark Waid. I think we should do more of the Mark Waid run. That way we can do, like, we can have Bullseye be a major threat. We can have, without even touching Matt, we can have the Hand come back. All this fun shit. So yeah, Mark Waid, and with more of Chip Zdarsky's run. Yeah. Yeah, thank you for those questions, David. Moving on now to Tom Hibbert, who asks, what are your thoughts on the moment, the one moment from the Batman Daredevil crossover where Scarecrow exposes Matt to fear toxin, only to have no effect on him because he's the man without fear? I kind of found that was cheap, if I'm being honest. It was kind of a cheap move, but at the same time, I was also, like, of the mindset of, it's a fun move. Like, it's a decent move. But also I was like, that felt a little, like, overblown. Second question. Even though Born Again is an amazing story, was there any moment that in it that got you emotional? Are we talking, like, the comic or the show? I'm going to say comic. I'm going to say, like, when Matt's, like, at his bottom tier. Like, he has hit rock bottom, and like, at his rock bottom, that's when his mother finds him. And you, like, heals him and all that. And I love that. I always get emotional at that moment where he's like, Maggie, are you my mom? And she's like, of course not. And he hears the heartbeat skip, and it's like, yeah, you are my mom. So I always like that moment. Third question. I've noticed ever since the Netflix show, there have been pairings of Daredevil with the Punisher a lot. Do you think Marvel's trying to make the Punisher part of the Daredevil's Rogues Gallery, or do you see it both sides of the same coin? I've always found it as both sides of the same coin, if I'm being honest. Like, that's how I've always kind of viewed it, is that they're both, like, a dichotomy of the two. So, yeah, that's just been kind of my thoughts. Thank you for those questions, Tom. Moving on now to Cyborg 19.99, who asks, Daredevil, first question, what would Daredevil and Nightwing think of each other? I think Daredevil and, I think Dick and Matt would probably view each other as a, like both were acrobats, and well, one was from the circus, one was from the streets, but it was two street kids who who managed to have different diverging lives, and I think they would both have like this moment of, so you get a lot of women too? Yeah. Get you in trouble? Absolutely. Anyway, second question. What DC villains would be part of Daredevil's rogues gallery? Well, Dominique listed off a few, but I'm gonna add a few more. Onomatopoeia. Yeah, Onomatopoeia, one of Green Arrow's villains, would absolutely kill it as a Daredevil villain. Like, not even like a joke. Onomatopoeia would be an absolute banger for, like, he just works as a Daredevil villain. The fact that, like, he's this assassin who goes toe-to-toe with non-powered superheroes, and also just says sound effects. Yeah, Onomatopoeia is just an absolutely perfect threat for Daredevil. Like, it's not like, no joke. I think he's really solid as a Daredevil villain. For others, I mean, Deathstroke's kind of easy. Yeah, Deathstroke's an easy one. I would dare say, like, Daredevil, Deathstroke's kind of easy, but it works. For others, Deadshot. Yeah, Deadshot's another. Bane, like was mentioned, Bane is another one. I always thought that Bane could work as a Daredevil villain. I also believe that trying to, because I did have a few others, some of Flash's villains, like Captain Boomerang. Yeah, Captain Boomerang would be another good one. I think also, if we're going to go by Flash villains, I'd say Heatwave, Captain Cold. If we're going to cherry pick from other villains, I would say, just as an big imposing force as he would be, another villain I would pick is, like, just to see how Matt could fight him one-on-one, because Batman can do this, so maybe Matt can too. Solomon Grundy. Solomon Grundy would be like fighting would be the equivalent of like Matt fighting a zombie Hulk. So, yeah, those are just a few to name a few. Oh, Sportsmaster too. Sportsmaster would be another one. Third question. What anime, video game, cartoon, and movie would you cross over Daredevil? Oh, God. Anime? I'd say Black Lagoon, maybe. Video game? Maybe Stray Dogs or GTA or something. Cartoon, maybe Danny Phantom, just for the shits and giggles of it. And for movie, Enter the Dragon. There you go. So there you go, guys. That is pretty much my Daredevil Q&A. I want to thank everyone who sent in questions. And yeah, like I said, if you want to be part of the next Q&A, just hit the link in the description box below. Head on over to my Patreon. Hit the first tier. That'll allow you access to do so. But other than that, I hope you all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.